All right, we're going to call this video Advice to Young Men. Now, I happen to be late 40s and my son happens to be early 20s, so we're having a lot of conversations at home about advice for young men. And not only that, but here's something interesting. YouTube gives me some very well broken down demographics when it comes to who's watching my videos, where they come from, what age group they are. And I know for a fact that probably the largest demographic group of all of my YouTube viewers are young men. That'd be something like men in their 20s or men in their 30s. So I know I have a lot of young men that particularly watch this channel. So in this video, what I'd like to do is say about 5 things that I would say to any young man who's in their 20s or their 30s. So what's up, everybody? My name is Matthew, one of the pastors here at Gospel Fellowship PCA, Reformed Bible-believing church just north of Pittsburgh. Hey, by the way, let me show you this real quick here. I'm adjunct at RPTS in Pittsburgh, and I'm having an Edwards class in January, so you might like to check that out. The reason I'm telling you that now is because you might have to do a couple of things to enroll in the seminary or to get ready to audit that class. So that's going to be January of 2025. We're going to do an Edwards weekend, a little bit of reading, a little bit of writing, not much. It's only a 1-credit class, but I'd love to have you come to Pittsburgh and join me for that. All right, so let me get into 5 things that I would say to young men that I think are of special importance. And number 1 is this. Regarding education, go as far as you possibly can. As far as you possibly can. Now, for me, that was all the way to the doctorate, and there are reasons why you might want to do that. There are reasons why you might not want to do that. What I'm saying is not necessarily that you should pursue a PhD or a doctorate or anything like that, or a DMin or anything, but you need to go as far as you can. Not me, but as far as you can go. Now, the reason I say that is because education is a lot like keys on a keychain. The more keys you have, the more doors you can open, right? And every time you get a degree or a certificate or another diploma or some other kind of certification in what you do, those are going to be more keys to open the various kinds of doors that you are going to want to open. Now, I just want to make this very clear that the academic route is not necessarily the route that every single person should take. Not every young man needs to take that particular route. I have a very high fondness and respect for the trades, for instance, but I'll tell you this about the trades too. The trades also work by ways of diplomas and certifications and qualifications and other such things too that you need to train for, even if it's a CDL for your truck driving or whatever it is, your welding certification or your plumbing certification or your apprenticeship or whatever it is. Go as far as you possibly can in your field, knowing that some of us are going to be academically inclined, others of us are not going to be academically inclined. I didn't know that I was academically inclined until I actually started doing the thing. And for me, once I started actually reading and writing and studying the very things I loved, the more I realized, okay, there's this academic side of me that wants to come out. I guess I'm a writer. I did not even know that through all of high school and certainly into the first little bit of college. And then all of a sudden I found that I really love that. But not all of you do. Not all of you like to read and write and do arithmetic and whatever else it is. Some of you are not built for engineering programs at college or university. You are built for the trades. And if that's true for you, then that is fine and well and good. And I heartily encourage you to do that. But I would say get as many certifications as you possibly can, again, to open up as many field job possibilities as you possibly can. Every field, whether it's academically inclined or very white collar, very blue collar, there are ranks and hierarchies and prerogatives, and you want to make your way up those ranks, and so you're going to want to go as far as you can. Now, a while back, I critiqued Christian colleges, and I'm going to re-offer that Christian critique here, although this time I'm not going to say the names of the Christian colleges that I critiqued. I heard that there were some who watched my video on that and did not like what I had to say, and probably you won't like this very much either. But unfortunately, even good, solid Christian colleges, even some that might be here in Western Pennsylvania, are too doggone expensive. And Christian colleges, along with the state universities and everyone else, needs to do their very best to cut the doggone costs down. Because if a Presbyterian minister, I'm pretty well employed here at Gospel Fellowship PCA. We're certainly not missing any meals or anything like that. The church does a wonderful job of supplying all our needs. But if a Presbyterian teaching elder can't afford to send his kids to a Christian college, that's a problem. So what I ended up having to do, because there was really no other alternative for us other than to get my kids into $100,000 of debt, which I was not going to do, is to send my kids to community college. And they both ended up doing very well. My oldest got a nursing degree from community college, and if she wants to go on to get a Bachelor of Science in nursing, she's able to do that. She can move on. If she does that, she can go on to get a master's degree. So the community college served her very well. Same thing too with my son. My son wanted to go into the trades. He wanted to go into machines and welding and tools and stuff like that. And he ended up getting an associate's degree in business, which is fine. If he wants to move on to get a bachelor's degree, that's fine too. But for a lot of us, these kinds of universities and colleges are just too expensive. And so for a lot of you out there, that's maybe not going to be your best way. You can go community college first, get your associate's degree, and then transfer into a bachelor's degree program and save yourself tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, so whatever else you do, I would say this though, you should push as hard as you possibly can. Don't slouch, don't slack, don't sloth on your education. You need to press that as far as you possibly can and go as far as you can go in the field that you think the Lord is drawing you into. All right, second piece of advice here for young men. Marry the girl. Marry the girl. Don't mess around with like 6 years of dating somebody if she's the one. How do you know if she's the one? I'm going to give you the best sign that she is the one, okay? Now, obviously, let's start with the basics. She's got to be a Christian. She's got to love Jesus just like you love Jesus. She's got to be a girl that wants to be in church, wants to learn the word, etc. Someone who's going to make a wonderful housewife and a wonderful mother to your children. But all that being said, and challenging nothing of what I just articulated there, how do you know if this is the one? Well, what are you supposed to wait for an angel to tap on your shoulder and tell you? No, I'm going to tell you right now how you know she's the one. She's the one if she is emotionally constant. Okay, now here's what I mean by that. Well, let me put it this way. Do you know the Reliant K song Mood Rings? If you don't know the Reliant K song Mood Rings, go listen to that song. It will help you understand what I'm talking about here. But you are looking for the woman that is emotionally constant. She is even keel. She is not prone to wild ups and wild downs. Now, all human people are somewhat prone to good days and bad days, to highs and lows. But you're looking for the one whose highs and lows are like a mild wave and not a wild wave, okay? If that makes sense to you. Now, one of the reasons that I knew immediately that my wife was the one back in the late 90s when we were courting and getting ready to get married and I was going to go off to Africa, more on that in just a moment. I knew she was the one because she was the one who settled me down emotionally, not got me all keyed up and freaked out, right? So the thing I love about my wife then, the thing I still love about my wife right now, is that she is a comfort to me. She is a solace to me. She is one who brings stability to my life and not instability. She is not one who brings the speed wobbles into my life whenever things get a little bit tricky or difficult. My ministry, my life is kind of high intensity, right? I have a lot of responsibility and a lot of people to care for. And if I come to my home life and it's out of control, it's spun out like a miniature hurricane in the living room, emotionally or otherwise, like that's not good for me. So what I needed, and I trust that many of you need, is you need the woman who has emotional constancy. She deals well with pressure. She's cool under fire. She brings solace to your soul. She does not whip you into a frenzy, but rather she is one that is gentle and kind and loving and secure and solid. And when I saw that in my wife back in the late 90s, I knew she was the one. She was different from all the other girls. All the other girls were high drama. This one was low drama, and I love that about her. Still love it today. Makes for an excellent pastor's wife. Not all of you are going to be pastors, but trust me, you're going to love the one who is emotionally constant and secure in your life. That's going to make a very good wife. And if you find her, marry the girl. Don't mess around with a 5-6 year engagement. Don't drag it out for years after you already know she's the one. Marry the girl. Get started with your life. Have babies, move on, move into your career, take big man steps in your life, and marry the girl. Okay, that's my second principle. Third principle: all young men, heed my voice. Dig into the local church. Find mentors there in the local church. Men that can advise you, men that can lead you, men that can walk with you in battle. You need your foxhole friends, and you're going to find them in the local Bible-believing church. Now, one of the things that I've noticed about this channel And to some extent, it's a great compliment. To another extent, it hurts me. Is how many of you young men in your late teens, 20s, or 30s write me emails, heart-provoking, heavy-laden, high baggage emails asking me for advice. Okay, now on the one hand, it's a compliment because you think of me as somebody that you can go to ask these kinds of questions. But one of the things that suggests to me that does have me a little bit concerned is that it also may indicate that you don't have those kinds of male leaders in your life, and I think you should. To go to some kind of internet guru or whatever. Hopefully I'm not that, but if I am, whatever. For the most important questions of your life, as though I, a person who's never met you before, can peer into your situation, knowing your particular circumstances and your particular personality propensities and all of this and your giftedness, and answer that question for you is going to be very difficult for me. The very best I could do is give some kind of objective, off-the-cuff answer as it strikes me first blush. And then I'm going to move on to the next email, right? And listen, I'm not saying don't contact me, but what I am saying is you should have people in your life that know you so much better than I know you, that can reasonably work through your situation to help you to the ends in which you are desiring to obtain. Now, we live in an age where there's a lot of information on the internet, and that's wonderful. There's a lot of you guys that listen to Jordan Peterson. There's a lot of you guys that listen to Ben Shapiro. There's a lot of you guys that listen to Joe Rogan. And I've got all those podcasts on my phone, on Spotify as well, okay? But that notwithstanding, you have to have some men in your life to whom you can go, that you can ask these kinds of like real world, deep personality, profound life trajectory questions. And I'm going to suggest that those persons are the elders of your church. That's why, guys, that's why we have elders in our churches. If your church doesn't have elders, maybe get a different church. I don't know. We could talk about changing churches in another video, but you have a built-in system for wise men in your life. Go meet with them. For the cost of a bowl of oatmeal, for the cost of a piece of toast and coffee, you can sit with an elder of your own church for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, and pore over some of these life questions. But all men, every single one of them, including this guy right here, we have to go to other men that are wiser and more experienced than ourselves. And young men, the sooner you start doing that as a good, healthy habit, the better it is for you. Okay, that's my third piece of advice. Fourth piece of advice. Young men, find a noble cause that you can throw yourself into when it comes to your vocation. Okay, so let's talk about picking your job, picking your career. We all have to have one. Okay, if we're going to be a dutiful man that has a wife, loves her, protects her, shelters her, cares for her, if we're going to be the kind of men that raise and rear children, and Lord willing, we would do that if God provides for us, then we must find mechanisms by which we provide for our family. And that means career. That means vocation. So we're all going to have to come to that fork in the road eventually. You can't be that couch potato that watches YouTube videos, much as I appreciate the views. Trust me, view and comment, all that kind of stuff. But eventually we have to make a career decision. And what I'm going to argue for here is that when you make that career decision, you make one that you believe in your heart is a noble cause, okay? Because if you're going to have to go to work every single day, or 5 days a week, or 40 hours, or 50 hours, or 6 days a week, or whatever it is, you better believe that you're doing the right thing when you get up. And for some of you, that means you're going to pick one of the people type professions. You're going to be a police officer that brings law and order to your community. You're going to be a teacher that works with some of the troubled kids in your community. You're going to work at a nonprofit organization that's going to help those who are downtrodden within your community. You're going to pick some kind of a career that you believe is going to bring the best good to mankind and the most glory to God. And that's what's wonderful about it, is that we're all going to choose differently on that, most of us. Some are going to be pastors. Others of you are going to want to be paramedics. Others of you are going to want to be smoke jumpers that jump out of an airplane to put forest fires out. Some of you are going to design computer programs. Some of you are going to be anti-spyware computer engineers. I don't know. Whatever it is, you have to believe that that is a good thing for the sake of your community, for your family, and that can ultimately glorify God. And that doesn't mean that that has to be some sort of superhero profession, okay? If you're a trash collector and you're on the back of a garbage truck so that your neighborhood is clean and the rats are gone and your society is orderly, then that's fine too. Trust me, that's fine too. Any job in which you believe you're doing good for the sake of society. If you're a shoe salesman, then you want to be the best shoe salesman you can for the good of the care of the feet of your neighbor. But here's my point. Whether you go to the military or you stay a civilian or whether you go professional or whether you start a private company, all of that is fine and good, but you must personally believe that you are on a noble cause. Because when life gets very difficult and rough and you have to get up in the morning that you don't want to get up, and everything in your life is weighing heavily against you, mitigating against you continuing on for one more day, what are you going to do? You're going to have to look into the heart and you're going to have to believe and know that what you are doing is good for the glory of God, for the good of others. If you find that burning ember of a flame in your heart, then you will be able to go to your vocation again for yet another day and supply and provide for the family that you love. That is absolutely important. And the final thing I'll say in this video is this. When you are a young man, okay, let's say you're late teens, early 20s, even early 30s, I recommend that every young man find a big adventure and go after that thing. For me, my story, real quick, when I was, 22 years old, I felt called to go to the mission field and I went to Africa by myself, sent by a reputable mission, WEC, World Evangelism for Christ. They sent me to Africa all by myself. I connected with some missionaries all the way there in Africa on site. And for 6 months, I lived with a tribe called the Fang people. And man, it was the most exciting thing that I ever did in my entire life. So many adventures, so many stories, so many life experiences, sickness, health, adventure, travel, discovery. It was amazing. And I heartily recommend that every young person take at least one adventure while they're young, perhaps before they get married. Maybe it's the mission field. Maybe it's travel. Maybe it's going to be a salmon boat in Alaska. I don't know, whatever it is. Maybe it's the military. But you need to, at least while you're young, go after one great big adventure, so you're going to have some amazing stories to tell your family and your church and your people as you get older. If you don't have any stories to tell, I do sort of pity that. I don't want you to live a mundane life. I want you to live a great, glorious, exciting, adventurous life for the glory of Jesus. All right, so here's my 5 points again. Go as far as you can in education. That's 1. Marry the girl. That's 2. Connect with church-based mentors. That's 3. Find a noble cause vocation, and then finally go on some great adventure in your life. All right, that's it for me today. Thanks for checking in. Don't forget, I've got that Jonathan Edwards class coming up in January. Love to meet you there for that. Other than that, I'll chat with you later. Love you lots.